What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. New media, you guys got me working. I'm bringing justice back to boxing. I feel like the Punisher. Call me Frank Castle, aka Ego, aka Ego Veli. Now, before I get started, I want to say shout out to Ring TV. Make sure you check out their website, link in the description where I got the article. And they talked to Bob Arum, who was going over what happened with the Adrian Broner fight. And there's another Haymon fighter that he's interested in making a fight with, his prized pupil, Manny Pacquiao. Now, before we get started and talk about that fight, I want to say a couple things. One, I made a video yesterday, check it out, and it was Pacquiao says do not believe about his comeback. Do not believe the media about his comeback fight. There's no truth, no talks. Make sure you check out that video, and I talked about a press statement released by Pacquiao's verified page where he says that. So I don't even know if Pacquiao's coming back. However, Arum strongly believes Pacquiao will come back this year. I don't know why Pacquiao's saying the opposite. Now, I got to clarify this before I get into the second Haymon fighter that Al Haymon wants to make a fight with, potentially for Pacquiao, and that's Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner did this video. Make sure you guys check it out. Adrian Broner says, "Fuck Bob Arum, pay me what I deserve, bitch." And it was regarding the Pacquiao fight. Basically what happened is Arum said to the media that Broner, he was trying to make that fight and he priced himself out in the Pacquiao fight, and for that reason he's no longer being considered for October fight or November fight for Pacquiao. Now, a lot of fans jumped on side like, oh, Broner, he was scared and he wanted too much money. The rumored amount that Broner wanted was $10 million. That's the rumor, and using that to think Broner could get $10 million versus Pacquiao, that's not that far-fetched. And a lot of fans are playing sides, and they got business degrees and all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm gonna break it down real quick before I talk about the nature of this video that you guys see in the title. Now, Adrian Broner, whether you hate him or love him, he puts asses in the seats and he knows how to sell fights, right? Arum said something which I don't believe is possible. He said that Broner wanted more money than Pacquiao, and I really doubt that. I don't think Broner is that foolish to believe that he's going to get more money than Pacquiao in that fight. But if he did want a minimum at least $10 million, that's not really that far-fetched. If you look at Manny Pacquiao's very last fight, Manny Pacquiao, his purse was, I did a video about this, he received $20 million guaranteed. Who did he fight? Timothy Bradley. He fought Bradley for a third time, which myself and a ton of the boxing community did not really even care for that fight, a third fight. Timothy Bradley got a guaranteed $6 million, right? And keep in mind, this is a fight we've seen for the third time, and a lot of people, a lot of you guys in the comment section thought Bradley lost both of those fights. I did. I thought he did better than what people were saying in the first fight, but I still had him losing both fights. I thought he won the first couple 5 rounds or so in the second fight, and then he gassed out. But I did have Pacquiao winning both of those fights, and he got $6 million to fight Pacquiao a third time, which none of us wanted to see. I don't even know if HBO really cared for it, right? Because they didn't even do a face-off for this one. They did a face-off for the other two. They didn't do a 24/7 series. They just kind of, hey, this is the fight, here it is, which is the reason why Pacquiao versus Bradley 3 pay-per-view numbers, I did a video about that, were abysmal. They did not have good numbers, and that was the fans speaking up with their wallet like, hey, we're not trying to see this recycled stuff. So again, relating this back to Broner asking for $10 million is not out of the question. Timothy Bradley, I like him. He's a good fighter. He's very talented, skilled, but he's kind of a family man. He doesn't overly trash talk. The last time I really remember him being riled up was probably back in the day, way back in the day, when he was fighting Devin Alexander. For whatever reason, those two had bad blood, but he's always been respectable for, like, towards Ruslan and Pacquiao. He's not really talking a bunch of trash. He just says like, oh, Pacquiao, I think the fire's gone. He says something like that in the face-off, but he's not a big trash talker. Broner, love him or hate him, like I just said, he puts asses in the seats and he'll make you tune in. He sold a fight with Ashley Theophane, which is a guy, like, I cover boxing. I met Ashley, cool dude, but guess what? I haven't watched Ashley. Before he fought Broner, I hadn't seen his last 3 or 4 fights. I've seen him fight before, but I hadn't been following his career or seeing his fights in the UK and the fights that he had leading up to, because he wasn't in any kind of major fights in the division. Broner was able to sell that fight. He had this whole fuck TMT movement. He was at a basketball game and he crossed off the TMT and put an AB. He was talking about Floyd. Floyd called him a snake. He called out Floyd after ender. I learned from physical activity. AB called out Floyd. And that fight with Broner and Ashley Theophane went on to do over 1 million views on Spike TV, a network that's new to getting boxing. And that was the most viewed Spike TV telecast out of all the fights they had on Spike TV, like Chris Algieri and Amir Khan and some other fights. So without a doubt, the more I think about it, the whole Broner priced himself out, it's not really adding up, because if he's asking for $10 million, that's not really that crazy, because Bradley got 6 to fight Pacquiao in a fight we didn't want to see. And we know Bradley wasn't going to do anything above and beyond. HBO would be foolish to have a pay-per-view with Broner and Pacquiao and not put together a face-off and not put together a 24/7 and spend the extra money for the cinematography and the video equipment and the camera crew, right? Because that would be must-see TV. Again, we're talking about Adrian Broner, who sold us an Ashley Theophane fight and had people tuning in, and called Floyd out, and that was a trending topic immediately after he called him out, right? He did the slammer diss and stuff like that. Broner knows how to sell himself. Whether you think he's an asshole, a jerk, or you don't like him, you want to see Maidana hit him through the ropes again. Despite all of that, Broner knows how to get under people's skin. I just beat the fuck out of a Mexican. Whatever he's doing, he knows how to sell himself. He is a salesman. So again, I'm questioning the Bob Arum saying he priced himself out. The pay me what I deserve is making more and more sense the more I thought about it, because 10 million is not out of the question for a pay-per-view. Not to mention Pacquiao getting the 20 million and Bradley getting the 6 million. They also have perks with that, like the back end pay-per-view proceeds based on the success of the event. So I doubt Broner was trying to get a base pay of $10 million and on top of that try to get a whole bunch of pay-per-view. He just doesn't want to get lowballed. So that's that. Now again, back to the video at hand. I had to clear that up for the fans. If you guys go on my account, make sure you guys follow me, subscribe to the channel, like the channel. I made this graphic and it's Manny Pacquiao, Danny Garcia. This is the other fight that Arum said he's down to make for Manny Pacquiao if Pacquiao shall return. I like the fight. You couldn't get Broner. Pacquiao's team has openly stated they don't want any parts of Terence Crawford, because Michael Conks did an interview and he says Pacquiao and Crawford has never been under consideration, which is not what Bob Arum has told us. So again, it looks like Pacquiao wants to fight some certain people, and I don't think he wants to fight at Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is not a current champion, and he's big welterweight. He's a huge threat. Kell Brooks moving up 2 divisions to fight Gennady Golovkin. Then you have Keith Thurman, another big welterweight who did what he had to do against a rugged Sean Porter, came out victorious. He has that punching power. He's clearly bigger mass-wise and stuff, bigger in general than a Manny Pacquiao. So they probably don't want to take that type of risk for a Pacquiao fight. So I don't think they would have that fight. To me, the fights I would love to see for Pacquiao, probably my top 3 fights would be Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman, no particular order. Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, Pacquiao, Errol Spence Jr., and Pacquiao, Maidana at 147. Those are all great fights. Those are my favorites. But again, Maidana's like 400 pounds or whatever. We don't know if he'll come back and if he'll be able to come back by October. Keith Thurman is dangerous and he's a champion. I don't think they want that. I don't even know who I said for the third person, but I would love to see Terence Crawford. But again, Pacquiao's team said that he's never been under consideration, and he's at 140, so I don't know how that would work. So I would like to see Danny Garcia if none of those other fights can come off. I like that fight a lot better than Jesse Vargas. I think Jesse Vargas, to me, has less of a chance of a spoiler based on the stylistic matchup. Jesse Vargas is tough, so Pacquiao hasn't had a stoppage loss since Cotto. I think that was in 2009, 11th round. So at this point of his career, Pacquiao's not really stopping many people. He hurts you, like he hurt Floyd. I think it was twice in the Floyd fight, rounds 4 and round 7. He clipped Floyd. The round 4 was clearly the better time where he hurt Floyd. He hurt Chris Algieri, dropped him 6 times. Hurt Bradley, dropped him down twice. But he's not necessarily pulling the trigger all the way and finishing people. So Jesse Vargas possibly could go the distance, but he's just slow. He has experience, and that's, I don't know. That fight doesn't interest me. Now, Jesse Vargas and Danny Garcia, they both have belts, and they both won it via vacant title. But Danny Garcia, to me, has a better resume. And I don't think there's any comparison. Danny Garcia, a lot of people put cherries and stuff under his picture. His resume is one of, not naming Mayweather or Pacquiao, Garcia has probably one of the best resumes in the welterweight picture. Better than Kell Brooks. Kell Brooks only fought Sean Porter, Sinchenko, Carson Jones, right? Those are people he's fighting. And Danny Garcia, obviously he just moved up, but he fought Paulie Malignaggi, Robert Guerrero, Zab Judah, Lucas Matisse, Lamont Peterson, Nate Campbell, Kendall Holt, Eric Morales twice. You know what I mean? He has a good resume, a good ass resume. People just keep bringing up Rod Salka. So if I had to pick ego, I would rather see Pacquiao and Garcia over Pacquiao, Jesse Vargas. I think it's an interesting stylistic matchup. You look at Pacquiao, he's always struggled with counterpunchers. People sleep on Danny Garcia, think he's a club fighter, but he's very good with his timing. He's very deceptively good with his timing. And he's not necessarily the fastest guy, but if he lines you up for that left hook, you could be in trouble, especially a southpaw like Pacquiao. But then what Danny Garcia would have to worry about is the unorthodox rhythm of a guy like Manny Pacquiao. He just accelerates and decelerates and moves, and that speed has bothered Danny Garcia clearly in past fights. Amir Khan, Lamont Peterson, he's pretty athletic in general, good upper body movement and stuff like that, moving around. Those things have troubled the hell out of Danny Garcia. So I like the fight, I like the matchup, and I think Danny Garcia, if anybody out of Danny Garcia and Jesse Vargas have a shot, I would say that Garcia has a better shot to beat Pacquiao at this point than Jesse Vargas based on the stylistic matchup. And I think Garcia, frame-wise, he might be a little bit smaller than Jesse Vargas, I think, because Vargas is pretty tall. But I think that Garcia, his power will transition, especially his third fight or so, because he's already had 2 fights at welterweight. I think his power will look better than Jesse Vargas. Even though Vargas is coming off a stoppage win, it was against Saddam Ali, who showed a lot of promise, former Olympian, but that was maybe he just wasn't prepared for that rugged of a fight. We've seen Garcia with veterans, Eric Morales. You know what I mean? Eric Morales went to war with Maidana, had a fucked up eye, and didn't get knocked out. But later, a couple years later, Danny Garcia was able to get the job done. Matisse, you know what I mean? Just guys with a lot of veteran experience, Zab Judah and stuff like that. So I'm okay if it is Pacquiao Garcia. I got to see Pacquiao against one of the young, strong Lions. And I just don't fancy the Jesse Vargas fight at all. That's just not me. I mean, but knowing patterns and knowing Bob Arum and Top Rank and what they've tried to pull off in the past, like making Bradley 3 or Chris Algieri, they would probably try to make the more in-house fight and leave Haymon out of it. But the good thing is that Bob Arum, at least to the public, is expressing the notion that he's open to fight or to work with Al Haymon. That's a good sign, at least, because in the past he hasn't really showed that willingness. Will he actually come up with the fight like he's done with Oscar De La Hoya? We have to wait and see. But I like that the fact that they're talking. And Arum says in this interview that the reason the Broner fight fell apart had nothing to do with Al Haymon. He says it was because Broner wanted an unrealistic amount of money that wasn't tangible, which I kind of talked about in the beginning of this video. But it's funny to me because you look at all the casuals and the decaps and the comments that they leave, and it's always Al Haymon's fault. He's the cancer of boxing, he sucks, and all this other stuff. And Al Haymon, he's sending his fighters into tough fights, like the 2 heavyweight fighters he had, Dominique Brazil and Charles Martin. Charles Martin's first title defense, he sent him to the slaughterhouse to get slaughtered by a powerhouse with all knockouts, Anthony Joshua. He sent an undefeated Olympian in Dominique Brazil to the UK to fight Anthony Joshua, right? Khan, he had allowed Khan, or whatever, that fight was made with Canelo, and he moved up, no rehydration. But they keep saying Al Haymon is the one that's blocking fights and all this stuff. But Bob Arum just told you right there. You guys got to learn to read between the lines. Bob Arum just told you right then and there that it wasn't Al Haymon's fault Pacquiao Broner fell apart. He believes it was Broner's fault. He says that's why he's still open to working with him to make the Garcia fight. You guys let me know what you think. Do you like Pacquiao Garcia? I'll take it. I just want to see if Pacquiao comes back, he got to fight someone real. I think Canelo's too big, so I don't see that fight being agreed upon. I think Freddie Roach is not dumb, and he wouldn't want Canelo to be able to rehydrate to the amounts that he probably did rehydrate. Amir Khan believes that Canelo was over 180 pounds when they fought. And Pacquiao, he's tiny. Khan at least had a big frame. Clearly Pacquiao has a better chin and more power and stuff, but it's still that Canelo's just too big, I feel. So if I can't get Keith Thurman, Kell Brook already moved out of welterweight and says he's a true middleweight now all of a sudden. And we can't get Keith Thurman, we can't get Errol Spence Jr. because he's still too high risk, low reward. I would rather have Danny Garcia. We're not getting Broner. I'd rather have Danny Garcia over Jesse Vargas. Drop in the comment section. Let me know what you would rather have. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.